Hare Krishna. We welcome you all to this session, Gita Diploma course, day 3, My Identity. Due to some technical glitches, we could not connect on time. So thank you so much for waiting, having the patience. Let's begin without any more delay. We'll begin by chanting a quick prayer, so you all can do that with me. 𝗟𝗏𝗳𝗏𝗃 ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So I welcome each one of you who are watching us on YouTube and Facebook. I really appreciate your sincerity and eagerness to learn Bhagavad Gita. Your enthusiasm and your interest inspires us to conduct such courses. So today is a very important day in our course, because today there is going to be a turn in the life of Arjuna, the Arjuna of Bhagavad Gita. We heard in chapter 1 that Arjuna was pretty distressed, so much frustrated, directionless, hopeless, lost. And this chapter 2, which we are going to discuss today, is going to bring a big turning point in Arjuna's life. Well, we know this is a drama setup, but still within the drama, this is going to be a turning point. So this chapter is entitled My Identity, because this talks in detail about, one's true identity. So we are going to discuss that here today. What is someone's identity? From the perspective of Bhagavad Gita as explained by Lord Krishna. So before we enter into this discussion, few guidelines, like I always try to mention it to you from in the beginning. You're mentally prepared. Sometimes when we study Bhagavad Gita, certain things may not make so much sense. So we did not lose courage. We should maintain the patience and continue doing it. Over a period of time, those things will become more sense to us. So do interact as you have been doing in the previous sessions. Hear attentively, because the quiz questions are all from these sessions. If you attend the sessions, you are going to get full marks in the quiz. And don't delay. Sometimes it's a human tendency that this is such a long course and the recordings are available and we can watch anytime. So why bother join live? You'll just hear it other times. But it's the best to hear live and hear with patience. As I mentioned, if you don't understand, don't panic. Stay on board till the end of the course. And by the end, many things which now might be so, difficult to understand will begin to blossom in our consciousness, and we'll be able to make more healthy understanding of that. So this is what we discussed in the previous chapter at a glance. What was that? That Dhritarashtra, he began by asking a question. What did my sons do and what did the sons of Pandu do? So Sanjaya, his secretary, being very intelligent and knowing the mind of Dhritarashtra, understanding his mind because he has been living with him for so many years, first of all answers by telling what Duryodhana did. He spoke about that in the verses 2 to 13. What was Duryodhana's mindset? We learned some very beautiful lessons from Duryodhana. And then what did Pandu's son do was explained in the remaining part of the chapter. So first, Sanjay also gives some kind of signs of victory of the Pandavas, that these are the reasons why Pandavas will win the battle. We mentioned some of those signs. And then Arjuna makes a very strange decision. He tells Krishna to put his chariot in between the two armies. So Krishna then starts moving the chariot, towards the middle portion. And then Arjuna says, I want to check who all have come here to fight. And Krishna says, it's all your people, your family members. And then Arjuna's mind changes and he gives 4 very logical reasons why he doesn't want to fight. So many times people ask me this question, that when this whole event was happening, Arjuna moving to the middle of the battlefield, which must have taken some time, and then Krishna and Arjuna having a discourse, a philosophical discourse. What did the other people do during that time? So please try to understand, when this was happening, both the armies were quite puzzled, confused. Why is Arjuna doing something like that? I mean, what's going on in the mind of Arjuna? The Pandavas were concerned that this is pretty dangerous for Arjuna. And the Kauravas were thinking, what is Arjuna trying to do? I mean, no one has done this in the past. The conches are blown. We are supposed to now shoot arrows. And why is he coming to the front? That also without any protection. Each chariot would be protected by many more chariots. And Arjuna came all alone to the front. Now that was, in one way, a very crazy thing to do. So this was not planned. This was least expected. And this led both the parties to think, what's happening? So they had some food for thought. They were busy, discussing, right? Now, what happens at the end? We discussed that when Sanjaya spoke to Dhritarashtra that Arjuna has kept his bow aside, his arrow and bow, and he sat down on the chariot and is crying. Duryodhana's father, Dhritarashtra, is very keenly listening to this, Now, we begin with our first question to all of you. When Dhritarashtra heard this from Sanjaya, that Arjuna is sitting on the chariot, it's not standing, and he has decided in some way not to fight. What was going on in the mind of Dhritarashtra? The question is on your screen. What was Dhritarashtra thinking at that time? You'll have to correlate it with what we discussed in the first chapter. There are different thoughts going on in the mind of Dhritarashtra. He is having different emotions. So what is actually now happening in Dhritarashtra's mind? By hearing Arjuna is sitting on the chariot, he is confused, overwhelmed, he is lamenting. What is Dhritarashtra thinking? What might be going on in his mind? Let's see. Very good. Thank you so much, Roshni Mataji. Dhritarashtra was happy. Very good. Perfect answer. Thank you so much. So Dhritarashtra was actually happy because he hoped that Arjuna won't fight. Dhritarashtra knew Arjuna was a big player from the Pandavas' side. If Arjuna doesn't fight, perhaps there won't be any war. And if Arjuna doesn't fight, even if there is war, Kauravas will surely win. So he had this hope that either the war will not happen and the Kauravas will win, or the war will happen and Kauravas will win. Because he was very, very attached to the desire that Kauravas should emerge victorious. So this was sensed by Dhritarashtra, and Sanjaya, looking at the face of Dhritarashtra, that he has some sort of smile on his face, he's happy. Sanjaya thought, now let me tell the reality to him. So Sanjaya, he shatters the false hope of Dhritarashtra by doing something. Before we go there, let's look at these 4 things that was going on in Dhritarashtra's mind. He had a desire that his sons would win. Then he had a fear that there won't be any battle. But Sanjaya, he removed that fear in the previous chapter. Then he had doubt whether his sons will win. And Sanjaya, he strengthened that doubt by telling, yes, there are more chances for Pandavas to win because they are virtuous. Krishna is on their side. Arjuna is sitting on a great chariot. Hanumanji is supporting them, so on and on and on. And now Dhritarashtra's false hope has to be shattered by Sanjaya. So Sanjaya speaks this verse 2.1. Sanjaya uvacha tang tada kripaya vishtam अश्रुपूर्णाकुलेक्षणं विषीदन्तम् idam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha. He says, when Arjuna was so much overwhelmed with compassion and he was depressed, his eyes was full of tears, Krishna, whose another name is Madhusudan, he spoke the following words. Now you see, try to understand. Arjuna was crying. Have you ever heard that a Kshatriya cries? No, a Kshatriya makes his enemies cry. Kshatriyas don't cry. But Arjuna, the greatest fighter of his time, was so much in anguish and pain that he was crying. He was suffering like hell. So Sanjay is telling, my dear king, you are happy. You think that Arjuna won't fight. But please remember, there's one person with Arjuna. His name is Madhusudan, Krishna. And when Dhritarashtra heard this name, Dhritarashtra's smile, it faded away. Because Dhritarashtra knew this person, Krishna, he is so expert. He is so smart, and he can change anyone's mind. He is such a nice talker that he can convince anyone to do anything. He is a game changer. He makes impossible possible. So just by hearing the word Krishna or Madhusudana, Dhritarashtra's hope went away. And then Sanjaya further spoke something, which is a continuation. The next verse, in first chapter we heard Dhritarashtra spoke, Sanjaya spoke, Arjuna spoke, but in chapter 2, Krishna begins to speak. Now 𝗬𝗏𝗵, who has compiled Bhagavad Gita, he says 𝗍𝗏𝗵𝗀𝗃 in 2.2. Now interestingly, in chapter 1, he always used the name of the person, like Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Sanjaya Uvacha, Arjuna Uvacha. Uvacha means said. So here, why is 𝗬𝗏𝗵 not saying Krishna Uvacha? In the entire Gita, he says 𝗍𝗏𝗵𝗀𝗃. So this question for you, please try to answer this. What is 𝗬𝗏𝗵 trying to tell us by using this particular phrase, 𝗍𝗏𝗵𝗀𝗃? Why not Shri Krishna Uvacha or Krishna Uvacha? Let's see. What's your reply to this? Any thoughts on that? Okay, thank you, Vijayanaran Prabhu. You say the Supreme Lord is Krishna. Very good. What else? Krishna is Bhagavan. Thank you. But why is he trying to say that Krishna is Bhagavan? Krishna will personally tell in the Gita that he is Bhagavan. What is 𝗬𝗏𝗵 trying to tell the readers by telling Krishna is Bhagavan? Okay, very good. He knew Krishna is the ultimate. He knows that Krishna was God. Okay, Bhagavan and Krishna are non-different. Thank you so much for your answers. Yeah, so basically, he's trying to say that yes, Krishna is not an ordinary person, and neither Krishna is an extraordinary person. Krishna is Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord himself, the Swayam Bhagavan. But by that, what is he trying to say? Please try to go to the deeper meaning. 𝗬𝗏𝗵 is trying to say, don't take the words of Krishna lightly. Don't think that what Krishna is saying might be true, might not be true. It might be imperfect. It might be applicable only in certain situations and circumstances. He's trying to warn the readers of Bhagavad Gita that whatever Krishna is going to speak is ultimate truth, absolute truth, applicable to each and every living entity. And his words are not questionable. Because he is God, he cannot be wrong. That's the definition of God. All good. All good cannot be bad, cannot be wrong. So he's telling the readers, when you study Bhagavad Gita, study with this mood and attitude that everything spoken here is truth. I may not understand it, but that's my limitation, not Gita's limitation. So with that mood or attitude, when we approach Bhagavad Gita begins to unfold and begins to explain itself to us in very, very interesting manner. Again, the word Bhagavan has a meaning. Parashar Muni, who is the father of 𝗬𝗏𝗵. 𝗬𝗏𝗵 was born from Parashar Muni and Satyavati. So he gives the verse explaining the definition of Bhagavan. 𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗔 samagrasya वीर्यस्य यशस्य श्रियः 𝗃𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗃𝗃 𝗟𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗃. That Bhagavan is that person who has 6 opulences in full, in complete, which means there is nothing lacking. And which are these 6 opulences? He has all the wealth that belongs to me, that doesn't belong to me, everything that exists belongs to God. He has a lot of physical strength. He is famous everywhere. Everyone is attracted to him, or everyone at least is attracted to his message, or attracted to him in different forms, or knows about him, or if doesn't believe in him, still talks about him. Then he is most beautiful. He has all knowledge. Everything that is knowledge comes from him. And at the same time, though he has all these beautiful qualities, he is very, very detached, very renounced. So only God can have these qualities in full. Others, they have these qualities in minute quantity. But God has them in full. That's why he is Bhagavan. So then this is established. Now what does God say? Krishna, he interestingly tells Arjuna, Kutastva kashmalam idam. Krishna is surprised. Here even God is surprised. Arjuna, I mean, you, my friend, you are standing with me right on this chariot, and with me, who is the source of all knowledge, you are in confusion, you are in illusion, and you are talking like this in the battlefield. Is this the right place and the right time? I mean, you could have, if you are confused, you could have spoken about it yesterday or today in the morning before we came to the battlefield, that you don't want to fight. But now everyone has come here, they are ready to fight, the conches are blown, you are doing this drama in front of everyone. From where this nonsense has come into you? Krishna is expressing his surprise to Arjuna. And he tells Arjuna, I'm not able to understand. What makes you do this? And Arjuna says, it's my compassion, Krishna. I'm feeling so much of love and care for all these people. They are mine. How can I kill them? And Krishna at that time, he smiles at Arjuna. Arjuna says, Krishna says, Arjuna, this is not your compassion. I call it weakness of heart. Shudram hidaya 𝗟𝗶𝗵𝗀𝗋. This is weakness of heart. I mean, you are forgetting your duty. You are just getting carried away, swayed away by your emotions. And please try to little bit think about my position. You are my relative, my cousin brother. You are my dear friend. And because you requested me, I became your charity. You are putting my image at stake by telling that you are not going to fight. People will not only make fun of you, they will make fun of me also. That first time in the history, I decided to become the chariot driver of someone. And that person happens to be a coward. He's running away from the battlefield. They'll laugh at you, they'll laugh at me. At least think about me, Arjuna. Don't do this petty thing. Don't think like this. And in order to some other, enrage Arjuna, Krishna tells Arjuna, you are not talking like a civilized person. This act of you will make you infamous, and you will certainly not go to heavenly planets if you do something like this. And then Krishna speaks some very, very, unpalatable word. He says, Arjuna, come on, you are behaving like an eunuch. You are behaving like a woman. You are crying like a woman. You are a coward. You are not behaving like Kshatriya. Stand up and fight, Arjuna. So in this way, he was trying to motivate Arjuna in different ways. And then Arjuna says, Krishna, okay, you may call it my weakness. Fine, I accept. You may call it my weakness. But actually, you see, it's not logical for me to kill these people whom I worship. 𝗃𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗃𝗃. Bhishma Pitama, is my grandfather. He gave me so much love and care. And Guru Drona, I have learned everything from him. How can I kill them? I should be worshipping them. You are telling me to shoot arrows at them, Krishna? I should be showering flowers at their feet. I should be showering flowers on their head. I should be worshipping them. And you are telling me to shoot them down? Have you ever killed your grandfather, Krishna? Have you ever killed your teacher, Krishna? So why are you asking me to do that? Better I live as a beggar. If I am to just live in the forest and beg, okay, that's fine with me. And Krishna says, Arjuna, wait a second. You tell these people are your gurus, But in the scripture, it's mentioned any person who is acting as your teacher or guru, if that person comes down from his position as guru, which means that person loses his or her character, that person loses understanding of dharma, that person does not perform his duty, that person doesn't guide you well, you can reject that person. You can reject the guru. Guru can be rejected, and then you go to a better guru. So these people, they have lost sight of dharma. Why don't you reject them? They are no longer your guru. You can reject them. Arjuna then says something very nice, which I like so much, such a deep lesson. He says, I can reject these personalities, but I won't. Because I have so much gratitude towards what they have done for me, what they have given me. I won't reject them. And here we can learn from Arjuna a very, very important lesson. What is that? It's coming on your screen. We should always be grateful to those who have done us a favor. We can compare the mindset of Arjuna and Duryodhana here. Please, let's go to chapter 1. And there you understood Duryodhana's mindset. And here we are getting to know about Arjuna's mindset. So what is the difference between Arjuna's and Duryodhana's feelings towards the guru? What is the difference? Duryodhana is also acting in some way towards the teacher, and Arjuna is also acting in some way towards the teacher. And this is very important for us to learn. In modern times, most of the people, they are not able to take benefit of spiritual knowledge is because they don't have a proper attitude in approaching the teacher or the guru. And we can see here Arjuna and Duryodhana, they have big difference in how they approach the teacher. So what is the difference? Very good. Thank you so much, Pinkalji, Vijay Nayan Prabhu, that Arjuna has gratitude. He is humble. He appreciates. And Duryodhana is a fault finder. In the previous chapter we heard, immediately pointed out the fault of Dronacharya. That it's because of you, that Drishtadyumna, who is supposed to kill you, who has born to kill you, is so strong and brave on the battlefield because you have trained that person. You are a fool. You should have never taught him military science because you knew he's born to kill you. Why did you teach him? So Duryodhana was always trying to find faults in Bhishma, in Drona, in Kripacharya. But Arjuna is telling, I can never do that. I am always grateful for whatever they have done for me. Like what you mentioned, Arjuna has great gratitude. Very, very important quality for anyone who is a spiritual seeker. And then Arjuna gives his fifth reason to not fight. He says, Na chaitat vidma kataranno gariyo. He says, I cannot decide Krishna. I mean, I have tried my best. I have used all my reasoning. I cannot decide, should I fight, should I not fight? Because Arjuna was having different, options, and he was calculating which is the best. So he was thinking, if I fight, then there are two options. Either I'll win or I will lose. So if I win, I lose all my relatives and my friends. They will die. So that's my loss. And if I lose, then that is death for myself. Again, it's my loss. And if I don't fight, then I'll have to do begging. And begging is very difficult. I mean, it's easy to say I'll beg and live, but a Kshatriya cannot beg. Kshatriya, they demand, they command, they order, they instruct. Brahmanas, they can beg, please, my dear sir, can you give me some alms, some donation? And the person, if he's kind, will give. The person is not so kind, that person, get away from here. And the Brahmana is very humble, he'll say, okay, no problem, thank you. But a Kshatriya, if you say no to Kshatriya, Kshatriya is going to draw out the sword and say, don't dare say no to me, you have to listen to me. So Arjuna knows his nature. He says, I said I will beg, but it's not easy for me to beg. So I cannot decide. I cannot decide. That's why I don't know whether I am going to fight or not fight. And here then Arjuna does a very interesting thing. We all are many times not able to decide what to do, what not to do. So here Arjuna does something which is very instructive to us. That what he did was, he surrendered to Krishna. He approached Krishna for help. 2.7, very important verse of Bhagavad Gita. Karpanya dosho pahatas svabhavah prichhami tam dharma samudha chetah yacheyah syan nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadimam tam prapannam. I surrender to you, Krishna. I cannot decide what is best for me. I have tried my best to know what is best for me. So I just take your shelter. You decide for me. You please tell me what is best for me in this situation. And this is a very important lesson. Many times when we are in problem, we know we are in problem, but we try to solve all those problems just by our own self. We should approach people who are superior to us, senior to us, more wise than us, more spiritual than us, our spiritual teachers, and we should ask them for advice, solutions, suggestions. In fact, even we can tell them, you tell me what I should be doing in this situation. We must have such people in our life. Arjuna had Krishna. We should also have such people in our life. Then the chariot of our life will move in the right direction. So Krishna jokingly tells Arjuna, why me? Go to someone else. There are so many learned people around. Go to 𝗬𝗲𝗍, go to 𝗪 Rishi, your guru. Arjuna said, no, Krishna. On this battlefield and in this situation, you are the best option. What to speak of now? Forever, you are the best option for me. I don't think anyone else can help me. You please help me. Oh Govinda, I have decided not to fight. This is what Arjuna said in 2.9, and Arjuna then stopped speaking. He became silent. So Sanjaya is narrating all this to Dhritarashtra. So chapter 2 here, which is the second longest chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and in fact quite philosophical, has these few sections. So the first section gets over here. Arjuna has few more doubts why he doesn't want to fight, and then he surrenders to Krishna. He says, now you please guide me and instruct me. From here onward, Krishna is going to take the role of a teacher or guru. Till now, Krishna was acting as a friend, but now Krishna will be acting as a guru. Okay, some of you are complaining, screen not clear. So please look at your internet connection and also try to change the resolution settings, then the screen might come clear. Is it clear for others? Can you quickly reply? Yes, no? Is it clear for others? Okay, we are not getting any response. Yes, okay. So you see, those who are having technical issues, please look at your connection. It might be wrong at your end also, perhaps. Now you see from here, Arjuna's is in the learning mode and Krishna is going to begin instructing. So first verse as an instruction spoken by Krishna is 2.11. Asochayanan vasochastam pragyavadangsha bhashase. Krishna, first of all, kind of speaks very strongly to Arjuna. He says, Arjuna, you are talking like a learned person, but is this how learned people talk? Learned people, they don't cry, they don't lament, they are not confused. They're pretty clear of what they're supposed to do, why they're supposed to do it. And you are speaking like a pandit, as if you know so much. You have so many reasons to not fight and the consequences of fighting. You are speaking so well, but at the same time, you are miserable. So how can you be learned? Now here, why is Krishna speaking strongly? Krishna is not sympathizing with Arjuna. Krishna is not telling Arjuna, don't worry, it happens. Life is like this. Why is Krishna telling Arjuna, Arjuna, you're a fool. You're talking like a very learned person. So what is Krishna trying to do by speaking like this? Please try to understand. Here, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is acting as a counselor, So he's also using psychology, basically, human psychology, in order to instruct better. So why is Krishna using strong words? Sometimes people, they have this fancy idea that the teacher or the guru should be always very soft-spoken and should never chastise and should never get angry and should never instruct us and should be just like a friend, that's all. But here we see something else happening. Krishna is very much, strongly speaking to Arjuna. In fact, belittling Arjuna. Why so? Humbling Arjuna. Okay, we are getting some answers. Thank you, Ragaji, for trying to motivate him, make the situation understand, to motivate Arjuna. Okay, I want you to get more little in depth. Assertiveness, Sumati Mataji, very good. Thank you. Very nice point. to change Arjuna's mindset. Okay, good. Let's see. It depends upon that situation. Fine. So we are asking in this situation. We are not asking about different situations. We are asking about this situation. Very good. This is the best answer. Thank you so much, Sanjeev ji. Shake him out of the situation. This is so true. Thank you so much. You see, when a person is too much into lamentation, that person is kind of lost, totally lost. And in that situation, if you want to give knowledge to that person, first of all, you have to wake up that person. Make that person realize, okay, I mean, fine, this is all bad, but then please don't be so much absorbed by the bad. Try to focus on what is the solution. So sometimes you need to really shake people up. And for that, you need to speak some strong words so that they become alert. Okay, let me now change my outlook. Let me try to now understand it. Because when a person is too sad, too morose, too afraid, frightened, or scared, you cannot give knowledge to that person. Not possible. So that's why here Krishna is trying to help Arjuna, shake him a bit. And then Krishna gives Arjuna a specific knowledge, a very specific knowledge, the knowledge of Atma, soul, eternal identity. Now, to some people, they think Bhagavad Gita is philosophical and not practical. But actually, everything Krishna spoke in Bhagavad Gita is very practical. So today in this session, I'm going to convince you about the practical benefits of understanding Atma Gyan, the knowledge of soul, Atma. How is it important? Why Krishna spoke that knowledge first to Arjuna? We are going to see that now. In detail, Krishna spoke about it in almost 20 verses. We are not going to go so much in depth, but we'll cover it from above, So first Krishna says, Arjuna, first try to understand this one thing. You, me, and all the kings who have come here, we are eternal. We have a body. Of course, Krishna's body, we'll speak about that more in chapter 4. But the way we are able to see them, the appearance, the external appearance, we have that appearance. But that's, for many, most of them except Krishna, it's going to change. We as individuals, as living entities, have always existed in the past, are existing in the present, will exist in the future. We existed, we are existing, we will exist. So first of all, please try to come out of this, so much strong understanding that they will be finished. They will be no longer existing. Then he told Arjuna this verse, pretty commonly known verse of Bhagavad Gita. Anyone who first tries to memorize a shloka from Gita, this is perhaps the first shloka, very easy to memorize, 2.13. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati, which says that, the body, it goes from different phases, it changes. Like the person has a small boy's body or a girl's body, and then a youth's body, then the body becomes old. And the soul is the same. And the soul is going through those different transitions in the body. So there is a time when the soul leaves this body and then goes to another body. And a person who is intelligent knows that the soul is eternal. The body is anyway going to change. It has always changed. It will change. You cannot stop it from changing. So then, by telling this knowledge to Arjuna and speaking about death, death is not the end, like the people sometimes think death is the end, everything is finished. No, there is after that life again. Death, life, death. It goes on like that. So Arjuna said, Krishna, come on. I know everyone dies, but I love them. I love seeing them in their present body. I have attachment and affection for them. How can I see them die? This is fine. I know all this. How is it going to benefit me by talking about this at present? So then Krishna tells, okay, let me come to the point. I'm talking about the way this world works. Everything changes here. Nothing is permanent here. Matra sparshastu kaunteya. Like winter comes, then after winter, summer comes. So there are some people who like winter. But then winter is not going to be always there. After some time, there will be summer. And some people, they like summer, but soon winter is going to come. So we tolerate winter and summer. They come and they go. Likewise, in life, there is happiness and there is sadness. They come and go. We just need to tolerate them, learn to tolerate, and know that will pass. It wasn't there yesterday, it's there today, it won't be there tomorrow. Like this, we let it go. So Krishna is telling Arjuna to learn one quality. First quality that Krishna asks Arjuna to learn in his spiritual journey is to learn to tolerate. Very important quality. Nowadays, people consider the ability to tolerate as a weakness. They say, no, 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 we should fight, we should take revenge, and we should be like that. But Krishna is telling a more better quality is to tolerate than to just attack, or just take a revenge. And he says, if you do that, what's the result of that? Now, if someone tolerates, what is the benefit of tolerating? It's a science. Please try to understand. If we tolerate, it will help us to perform our duty better. Because let's say, if I cannot tolerate winter, then I may excuse myself from doing so many things which I should be doing as a matter of duty. If I don't tolerate summer, then I may also excuse myself from doing certain things which I need to do as a matter of duty. So Krishna is saying, if you can tolerate this changing situation, it will help you to perform your duties. Someone may ask, why perform duty? Then Krishna tells, duty gives knowledge. We'll discuss the science of this more in chapter 3 and chapter 4. So please stay into the sessions course and you'll understand them. Don't worry. And next, if you develop spiritual knowledge, this will give you freedom, liberation, the goal of life. Freedom from the prison house of material life. So a very important lesson coming again on screen. The ability to tolerate provocative situations is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of greatness. And we learn that from great personalities. They all tolerated so much. Now, to make it more clear, what is the difference between soul and body? I'm sorry, I think there is a typo mistake. It should be soul and body, not soul and duty. Krishna speaks this knowledge, a division of knowledge called Sankhya. In Sanskrit, Sankhya means analysis, comparison between soul and body. So this chapter is also called Sankhya Yoga, So Krishna gives this knowledge. So I ask you now, please mention some of the differences between soul and body. What are the differences between soul and body? And yeah, some of you are asking me questions. Please keep your questions till the end. Ask them at the end. When we'll open the floor for question answer, you ask your question at that time. Okay. So what are the differences between soul and body? Whatever you know till now. Very good, Nagaraj Prabhu. Permanent, impermanent. Narendra Singh ji, soul is eternal, body is temporary. Very good. Vilasji, soul is Chetan, it has consciousness. Soul cannot perish, body perishes. Very good. Soul is eternal, soul is forever. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other changes? Soul doesn't change. Very nice, Vijay Krishna ji. But body changes. Yeah, that's an important point. Soul is immortal. Thank you. So yes, so many points actually can be there. So here we see the list. First, the soul is imperishable. Body, not like that. The body perishes. The body has an end. The soul has no end. Then the soul is unborn. What takes birth is the body, not the soul, isn't it? The body takes birth. The soul is unborn. Soul is eternal, body is temporary. Soul doesn't die, the body dies. Soul is invisible to our material eyes. The body is visible. And the soul doesn't change, but the body goes through change. And in order to convince Arjuna in his language, because Arjuna was a warrior, Arjuna was thinking, is the soul, I cannot destroy it in any way. I have such powerful weapons, the earth weapon, the fire weapon, the wind weapon, the water weapon. I have these different astras and shastras, and they're so powerful. Some of them as powerful as atomic bombs, much more powerful than atomic bombs. So then Krishna says, Arjuna, come on. Soul is spiritual. So, can the soul be destroyed by any of these weapons? Can someone cut the soul? Can someone kill the soul? Can someone burn the soul? Is it possible? Can these things be done to the soul? The answer is pretty simple to this. No. Yeah, Kanikaji, thank you. No, it cannot be. The soul cannot be treated in this way. So Krishna tells Arjuna, no, Arjuna, the soul cannot be burned, broken, moistened, dried. All this cannot be done to the soul. And then he says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityor dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyete na tvam shochitum arhasi. One who is taken his birth must die. And after death, one must take birth again. Therefore, in the discharge of your duty, should not lament. He's telling, this is a law, Arjuna. You cannot stop them from dying. I mean, if you don't kill them, they will die anyway, because death is going to come someday. So why don't you do your duty? You cannot save them from death. Don't lament. Just do your duty. And then he says, Dehi nityam abadhyoyam, that this soul is eternal and it cannot be killed. So here, by speaking this knowledge of soul, basically, Krishna is treating Arjuna. He is counseling Arjuna. Arjuna had many reasons to not fight. And if you remember, in chapter 1, we discussed 4 of them. In chapter 2, today we discussed the 5th one. So what was the first reason? First reason for Arjuna to not fight. Can you recall, please? What was the first reason that Arjuna gave that he doesn't want to fight? Let's see how many of you can recall. First reason. If you have done the quiz, then you may. Very good, Rajiv. Compassion. Yeah, that's the answer. So Arjuna said, I have compassion. I cannot fight with them. They are my people. So it is material compassion for the body. That was Arjuna's reason to not fight, right? So Krishna, by giving knowledge of soul, he's telling Arjuna, the soul can never be killed. Why do you lament? See, Bhagavad-gita is so systematic. I love Bhagavad-gita because I have never read any scripture which is so systematic, which is so scientifically presented. In Gita, every single thing that Arjuna asks, Krishna answers that. And we have to apply our intelligence to understand how Krishna is answering Arjuna's question. So Arjuna's question was, compassionate feeling stops me from fighting. And Krishna is telling here, okay, you have compassion, very good. Compassion is a good quality. But direct your compassion towards soul, not towards the body, because the body is going to anyway die. And Atma Gyan, the knowledge of soul, has a very important role to play in anyone's life. It awakens a sense of detachment from material life. And one may be afraid, frightened, I don't want this, but we'll understand how this is very helpful actually. This is very, very important for any person. To understand who I am is so comforting because it can help us to find the lost me. We all are lost in this world. We may agree or we may not agree. We may accept, we may not accept. But we are lost because we are in the prison house of material life. And Atma Gyan gives us a sense of true identity. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you fight because there is no death for soul. You fight. The soul is permanent. This is the second section of this chapter from verses 11 to 30. Now here, before I tell you a very interesting story, very, very interesting story, let me ask you one question, because many people might ask you this question, and you also might be having this question in your mind. What are the practical benefits of the knowledge of soul? How it can benefit us? Practical benefits means in our day-to-day life, for anyone, whether someone is spiritually oriented, not oriented, whether someone believes in the Vedas or doesn't believe in the Vedas, someone follows Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma or does not follow that. How is the knowledge of soul going to benefiting us? Okay, very good. It removes fear. Thank you so much. That's very important point. It gives mental peace, mental balance. Very good. Okay. Purpose beyond physical being. Yeah, very good. Yes, we have a higher purpose. We get. Then we will stop lamenting about the changes that are anyway going to happen in life. Mhm. We will get liberation. Okay. Yes. What else? What other benefits could be there? Makes us more tolerant. Thank you. And let's take one or two more points. Then I'm going to tell you something very interesting. It makes one humble, helps us remove our false ego. Okay, thank you. So basically, please try to understand how in practical life it can help us. It helps us rise above because it gives us a different dimension to look at things. You know, it helps us to let go. It helps us to think outside the box because then we know we have a higher identity and a higher purpose. We are not just this body. I tell you one true incident. One of my students, I asked her that what joy you get by reading about Atma, this soul, the spiritual knowledge. And then she said, it tells me I'm not this body, and that is so relieving to me. I am not this body. This body gives me so much trouble. I mean, whenever I think I'm this body, along with that thought comes so many other, designations and ideas and what people think about me, my body, and how people look at me. So she said, I don't have to worry about all that because I'm not this body. It's so relaxing. It's true. So here, this is one of my very favorite stories, very very instructive also, and very heart-touching. I'll tell that. Before that, this quick lesson, which we'll discuss more in the last slide. First, set your identity correctly, because that decides how we think, how we desire, how we act, and how we experience in this world. People are so much thinking about how to live life, but they hardly think about what is their identity, what is their purpose. If they set their identity correctly, everything will fall in place. You will start thinking in a particular way, you'll start desiring in a particular way, and then the chain continues. You start acting like that, and your experience is also like that. So if you want to change your experience, try to please change the understanding of how you identify yourself. What do you think you are? So this story, Know Your True Worth, you might have heard this story, is actually about a Japanese boy. I love this story. I've told it so many times, and I would still tell many, many more times to come in future. So this boy actually was the son of a farmer, and pretty poor family, no mother, just father and son. He never went to a school, so from childhood he would be just assisting his father in the farm, doing agriculture and household chores, just like that. So as you can see here, this boy is sitting on a stone. Of course, the stone showed here is pretty big, but he was sitting on a stone. And he was looking around, kind of spaced out and lost, thinking, what is this life for? What am I supposed to do in life? Why do I exist? Looking at the butterflies, looking at the crickets and the insects, and playing with the straw and grass. So then his father, he became concerned about his son. He knew that my child has some anxiety, some worries, something is troubling him. He knew that maybe my son is having this inferiority complex. He's not having self-worth. What am I supposed to do in life? So his father wanted to teach him a lesson, but not just tell him, teach him through experience. So he told his son, my dear son, I noticed that every day you are sitting in the farm on a particular piece of stone. Why don't you do one thing? Take that stone out. It's a little heavy, but you can do it. Take it out. And you tomorrow go to the market. In market, there are different people selling different things. So you go and you sit in the market with this stone. And anyone who comes to you, asks you, what is the price of this stone? You don't tell anything. You just show like this, your two fingers. And don't do anything after that. You don't buy this, you don't sell this stone, you just come back home. You tell me what that person said. So this boy goes to the market. I mean, you must have seen these marketplaces where people are selling different things. So he took the stone and he kept it in front of him. And a very rich lady came there. She walked out of the car and she said, wow, such a beautiful stone. This is perfect for my garden. I recently made a garden and I wanted some big stones there to increase the beauty of the garden. Can you please sell it to me? I mean, how much you are selling it for? And the boy said, so the lady said, $20? That's okay. I mean, take it now. Immediately I'm going to pay. And the boy said, okay, we will tell you later. And then the day is over. He comes back and says, Father, I met a lady. She was going to give $20 for this stone. I never knew. I mean, this stone has such value. And the father said, Beta, don't worry, my dear son. Tomorrow you go now to a different place. Tomorrow you go to a museum, which keeps antique pieces. So you go there and you just stand in front of the museum and you keep the stone in front of you. So the boy went to the museum, and then a person who was running the museum, he thought, who is this shabby boy? And he's standing there, he's distracting our customers. So let him get away from here. He came out and said, hey, boy, go. And then he looked at the stone. Does this belong to you? He said, yes, it's mine. Okay, come inside. We'll talk. And then he asked that boy, do you mind selling it to me? It seems to me it's a very, very ancient old stone. And if I keep it in my museum, I can put a tag. This is a very old stone and this is from this age, and people will be so interested to look at it. And the boy said, okay. So then he said, what price? And he said, he showed like this. So the person said, $2,000? Okay, I mean, no problem. You take $2,000, I give you now, right now. And the boy took the stone, left from there, and came to him, Father. I mean, just imagine $2,000 for this stone. I felt like selling it, but then you told me not to sell it. So the father said, son, have patience. Tomorrow, you go to a third place. And the son said, where? You go to a jeweler's shop and you show this stone to them. Don't sell it. Come back. Just show to them. The boy did the same thing, went to a jeweler's shop, and when the jeweler saw that stone, he said, my goodness, this is such a precious stone. I can make small pieces of it and sell it for a huge amount. I will buy it now. How much are you selling it for? And the boy said, $2 million? Take it. Give it to me. And the boy, I mean, you can imagine his eyes went like fully open and his mouth was open and he was excited and speechless. $2 million for this stone. I mean, I was sitting on top of it and doing whatnot, and $2 million. He came back to the home. He was not walking, he was flying, and said, Father, $2 million. The father said, my dear son, you never knew the worth of this stone, but now today you know it costs $2 million. This stone for you had zero value. This stone for that lady was worth $20. For the museum owner, $2,000. But for the jeweler who knows the real price of this stone, this is $2 million. Likewise, people in this world will give you different identities. For some, you are this. For some, you are that. For some, you are something else. But all that identity is on the basis of body. In Gita, Krishna is giving us a real identity, most valuable identity, true identity, a true worth, that we are eternal spirit's soul, Atma, which is full of knowledge, which is eternal, and which has happiness within. It doesn't have to look for happiness outside. That's the Atma's true worth. And Krishna is telling Arjuna his true identity, who Arjuna is. What's Arjuna's real worth? And through Arjuna, he's telling each one of us. We have forgotten this identity, and many times we don't realize that this is a very valuable thing that is with us all the time. So Krishna is doing that with Arjuna, setting the true identity, and then Krishna moves on to answer other questions of Arjuna. Arjuna had so many doubts. So first is clear. Then the next one, Krishna says, Swadharmam api chavikshya na vikampitum-ārhasi. He says, Arjuna, you were thinking that fighting will also be a loss to you. Not fighting will also bring loss to you. But I don't think like that. For me, there is a win-win situation for you. If you fight, then what will happen? If you win, to me, I see it as a win-win situation because you will enjoy the kingdom. And if you lose also, you are thinking you will die. But anyone who fights for dharma on a battlefield, that person goes to heaven. So whether you win, whether you lose, you win if you fight. And if you don't fight, then I see you having so much of trouble. First of all, you will incur sin because you are not doing your duty. Not doing the right thing is also wrong, isn't it? Doing the wrong thing is wrong, and not doing the right thing is also wrong. So this is your duty. You must fight. But if you don't do your duty, that's a sin. You will incur reaction for that. Then second thing, people will make fun of you. You are a pretty famous person. Everyone knows you are the best fighter. And if you run away from here, this will be like a big dark, what do you call, blob on your character, that this person is really, really a coward. And third, people will criticize. They will not say you are compassionate, that's why you did not fight. They will say you are afraid, you are scared. So the Kauravas, Karna, Duryodhana, they will laugh at you. So please, Arjuna, don't think of not fighting. And then Krishna tells another very important thing, which is a lesson for us. He says, you are thinking, Arjuna, that the results give happiness. But here, Krishna is teaching us a very different science. This is very practical. Before we go there, let's do this, then we go to the question. There are two things. One thing is when I work, I get some result of the work. That's called the fruit of work. In Sanskrit, it's called karma phala. Karma phala. Phala means fruit, karma means work. So fruit of work. And then there is a duty, there is a work, action, which I need to do to get that result, the fruit. So Krishna is going to teach us a science through Arjuna. But before that, let me ask you this question. What was Arjuna's second reason to not fight? We discussed the first one. What is Arjuna's second reason to not fight? Let's see what you all have got to say. By the way, I thank you so much for staying with us online and continuing watching. It's very philosophical what we are discussing now, but you are trying your best to be with us. What was the second reason? Very good. Loss of enjoyment. Thank you so much. Yes, that was Arjuna's second reason. If I fight, I don't think this is going to give me happiness. Isn't it? So Arjuna was thinking of happiness. This battle is not going to give me happiness. So why should I fight? We all want happiness. And whatever we do in this world, generally, we do it to be happy. Isn't it? So Krishna is telling Arjuna, Arjuna, the result of the battle will not give you happiness. The result of battle will not give you happiness. We think like that. We always tend to think like that. The results will give us happiness. I have a job to do and my salary will bring me happiness. I have an exam to give and my results, my score will give me happiness. So we are so much always thinking about the result. We are result-driven people, most of us. We want to work for results. But that doesn't give us happiness. What actually gives us happiness is just doing the task itself in a particular attitude. If we have a duty to perform, If we just do that with sincerity, with honesty, with gratitude and satisfaction, that will make us happy. So Krishna is teaching here how to be even happy materially, even in material world. If someone has no interest in spiritual life, no problem. But how to be materially happy? One should do one's work in a very, very religious manner, which means in a very, very sincere manner, with satisfaction in heart. So Krishna is saying, Arjuna, whether you are happy, you are not happy, don't think about the result. You fight, that will give you happiness, because that's your duty. So Krishna answers Arjuna's second doubt. Will I be happy? Yes, if you do your duty, you will be happy. So that's the second doubt's solution. And the third section of chapter 2 is completed here. Arjuna has another question. Now, Arjuna is getting more technical, because Arjuna knows some philosophy. He understands the intricacies of karma, action, reaction, and papa, punya. So he knows something, and he's asking about that. Won't such work bind me? Now, why is Arjuna asking this? What is the relationship of work and bondage? So before we go there, let me clarify this for some of you. It's a principle, it's a law, universal law. You do whatever, it brings you a reaction. Even in physics, it applies the third law of motion, isn't it? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So physics accepts that, and not just physics, it's the law of life. Everything we do comes back to us. So it goes, what goes around comes around. So something like that. So Arjuna knows this. Action means karma, and every karma will give karma phala. So in other words, we can say work will give a result. If it's a good work, it will give good result. If it's a bad work, it will give bad result. So Arjuna now is thinking, killing in general is a dash action. That's for you to fill in. What is killing? What is killing? Is a what kind of action? Right, wrong, good and bad. How is it generally seen? So Arjuna is thinking, killing is an action, and it is a particular type of action. So what type of action is killing? Bad. Generally it's bad, isn't it? In general it's bad. So Arjuna is now connecting the dots. Killing is a bad action, which means it's a bad karma, and because it's a bad karma, it will give me a bad karma phala. It will give me a bad reaction, bad result. And that bad result will bind me. It will create bondage. If you do a wrong thing, it will give you a wrong result. You cannot get the right result by doing a wrong thing, isn't it? So Arjuna knows that, and he says, if I fight, if I kill, now this is sinful, and if I do something sinful, I'm going to suffer in future for that. So then Krishna tells a different science, a different way of solving this kind of problems when we come into such problems, that this is my duty, but then it also seems to me that this may bring me some negative reaction. So Krishna tells a new way of doing things, and this is called Buddhi-yoga. When you work, you use another parameter, which is you add knowledge to your work, and you work with that knowledge. So he says, Sukha-dukkhe-same kritva labha-labho jaya-jayo tato yuddhaya yudyasva 𝗍𝗵𝗵𝗶 𝗵𝗶. He says, Arjuna, you should do your duty of fighting for the sake of fighting. Don't fight thinking about whether it will give you happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. You just do it as a matter of duty, and if you do it as a matter of duty, you will not incur sin. Of course, it doesn't mean here that someone does a wrong thing and then he says, I did it as a matter of duty and this is not sinful. No. Here, Krishna is telling you are doing the right thing, but you have a fear that it may give you sin. So you do it in this attitude, then no sin. It won't give you a bad reaction. We'll discuss this more detail in chapter 3, because here, chapter 2, it touches the topics in a summary form, because it's just an introduction, isn't it? A speaker always introduces the subject, elaborates that, and then concludes. So chapter 2 is an introduction to Krishna's teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Then chapter 3 onwards, Krishna is going to explain all these basic points in more detail. So Arjuna's third reason to not fight was, can anyone recall? What was Arjuna's third reason to not fight? Let's see. How many of you have very attentively heard the first session? What is Arjuna's third reason to not fight? I'm asking this question spontaneously. I didn't intend to ask before, but then let me just see. Many of you gave correct answers for first and second. Now, what is Arjuna's third reason to not fight? Fear. Very good. Fear of sinful reaction. If I kill my own people, I'll be punished. They are my relatives. I should not be killing them. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. I mean, it really makes me happy when I see that the participants are putting so much of effort and going through the lesson so nicely that they can remember and recall what we discussed last week. That's amazing. So fear of sinful actions. And Krishna is saying, Arjuna, if you work like this, no sin. So this science, now Krishna is going to explain this more in the coming verses. This concept is called Buddhi-yoga, the yoga of attitude. So verses 238 to 253 talk about it. So Krishna is telling Arjuna something very important for us to learn. If you have philosophical inclination and you want to understand Gita, the philosophy of it, some of you may not be interested in that. You may just want to learn lessons from Gita, but not so much learn the philosophy. But those who want to learn philosophy, Gita talks about karma and jnana. And some people, they're only interested in karma. Work. I mean, they have no time for spiritual knowledge. And some people are too much interested in the books and they forget their responsibilities. So Gita is not advertising either of them. People have a big misconception. They think Gita makes you lazy or Gita makes you crazy. Sometimes they think like that. You start running away from your responsibility. No, Gita is not advocating only work, neither Gita is advocating only spiritual knowledge. Gita basically asks us to do a combination of both. In verses 11 to 30, Krishna spoke Gyan, spiritual knowledge of Atma. But then Krishna didn't tell Arjuna, now because you know your spirit soul, fine, pack up your bag, go to the forest and don't fight. No, he's telling, now you know you are spirit soul. Using this knowledge, you do your duty. So the karma section comes next, verses 31 to 37. And then 38, he says, do both together, not one. You fight, but with detachment. And this detachment comes because of the spiritual knowledge which he gave in verses 11 to 30, jnana. So you work with spiritual knowledge. That's important. Like I always tell people they have this strange understanding about that how this works. Like let me give you a practical explanation. Now I'm here sitting in front of my system and I'm trying to do some work. I'm giving this session, isn't it? And this is a work. This is one way of karma. I'm working, I'm teaching, I'm explaining, but I'm doing this activity with this background knowledge that I'm spirit soul. And one can do any activity with this background knowledge. One can be a doctor, one can be an engineer, a mother, a father, a student, a police officer, anyone. And one can work with this knowledge in the background that yes, I am spirit soul. So Krishna is telling Arjuna to work like this, and this is called Buddhi-yoga. Arjuna said, how does this science work? This is pretty interesting. And then Krishna explains this. Buddhi-yoga is also technically called in Gita Nishkama Karma Yoga. These terms will be more elaborated in the further chapter. It's called yoga of attitude. You work with a particular attitude. And then Krishna speaks this very important verse of Gita, which many people know in India, and they quote and they say, you see, Bhagavad-gita is telling you, you should just do your duty and forget God, forget going to temple, forget Bhagavad-gita, forget everything, just work. Work is worship. Everything is there in the work. But Krishna is telling something else actually. Karmanevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. It tells Arjuna, you must work because that's your adhikar, that's your right. I try to make this in some kind of a rhyme so we can easily remember it. He said, fight, that is your duty and also your right. Fight because that's your duty and also your right. And remember, the results aren't yours, all right? So you fight because that's your duty. But the results are not yours, all right? What? Arjuna says, no results? Then why fight? I mean, if I fight and the result is not mine, I do the job and the salary is not mine, then why fight? Why work? Krishna says, Arjuna, it's your duty. Hold it tight. It's your duty. You are supposed to do it. You must be doing it. It's your duty. So, what is duty? What does it mean, when we say duty? We'll get more clear in chapter 3, because this chapter is setting the identity. Duty is elaborated in that chapter. So, we'll discuss the details of that more. So, then Arjuna is saying, okay, hold on. You tell me, don't fight for the results. Don't work for the results. Then what inspiration will I have to work for? I mean, anyone who works, he works for a result, isn't it? I work because I need some result. Otherwise, why should I work? So he's asking, what will be the inspiration to work? Like, again, putting the whole situation in my situation. Let's say I'm in this session, and then I expect all of you to join. But let's say some of you don't join, or many of you don't join, or only 10 people join. Now, if I think only 10 people joined, let's not hold on the session today, because I was expecting so many people to join, but only 10 joined. So let me not do. Now, that decision is result-oriented decision. I'm thinking too much about the result. I'm not thinking about my duty. Okay, 10 people have joined. That's very nice. I mean, it's my duty to serve these 10 people, so let me do my duty. Why I think about the result? I should do my duty. So Arjuna says, what will be the inspiration to work like that? And then Krishna says, if you work like that, Arjuna, oh, that's going to bring you such wonderful result. And that result is freedom from bondage. That frees us from our material bondage. When we begin to work like this, when we begin to live like this, when we develop this attitude that we are not result-oriented, we are duty-oriented. Bhagavad Gita is going to take us from different levels, First, we start from result-oriented. I mean, that's how general people are, selfishness. And then we go higher. And then the last stage is love-oriented, when you do things as a matter of love, not just duty. So Gita explains this very beautifully, these verses. First, when you work in a dutiful manner, in a detached manner, then this gives you knowledge of soul, not theoretical knowledge. This gives you realization of Atma. I'm Atma. This won't just remain a theory then for us. It will be something which we can experience, realize knowledge. And then when we'll have realized knowledge of Atma, gradually this knowledge will give us knowledge of Paramatma, of the Supreme Lord, of God. This will develop in our heart, in our inner consciousness, conscience, naturally, by itself. And then we will, when we come to know the Supreme Lord by realization, naturally we would like to serve the Supreme Lord, offer ourselves to the Supreme Lord, and that's called surrender. That's done voluntarily, not by pressure, not out of frustration, not by feeling pain and being morose. It's done joyfully. And then when we surrender, this frees us from material prison. This is called liberation. This is called entering into the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, a place of complete joy, happiness. Vaikuntha, the meaning of this word is very simple. Kuntha means anxiety, problem, troubles, suffering, distress. Vaikuntha means a place free from all these. None of these exist in Vaikuntha. And one becomes qualified to enter that realm, that wonderful, beautiful place. So Krishna says, Arjuna, you fight. And even though you fight, you won't get any sin. Isn't Gita so beautiful? I mean, so much to learn. All these simple statements of Krishna, they are so valuable gems. And every day we can hold tight to those gems and apply in our life. Now Arjuna is very inspired by the talk of Krishna. I hope you are also inspired by these teachings of Krishna. So Arjuna is very inspired. And then Arjuna says, that sounds so nice. I wish I can become like that. I mean, my life will be totally different if I become like that. So are there people who exist on this world who are like this? I mean, sometimes when we discuss the theory, we know it's just theory. It's not real. So Arjuna is saying, are there people who are like this? I mean, who practice Buddhi-yoga and then they have perfected Buddhi-yoga? I want to know about how is their experience. I want to know about them. Now, why Arjuna is so eager to know? Because when you know that a person who is alive is practicing like this, you can associate, you can learn from that person, you can derive inspiration. You know, it's not just theoretical, it's practically possible. So he asks a question in 2.54. Sthita-pragyasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadhihi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. Four questions asked in this verse. So he says, just such a person, whom Arjuna is calling here as sthita pragya. Sthita pragya means one who is fully fixed and steady in his intelligence and mind. Such a person exists. And if such a person exists, how will I identify? To identify a particular person, you need to know the symptoms of that person. So he asks four questions here. First, ka bhasha. What are the characteristics and symptoms of such a person? Krishna answers that in 2.55. Kim prabhasheta. How does he speak? Of course, Arjuna is not asking, does he speak English, Hindi, Sanskrit, Chinese, German? He speaks very fast, speaks very slow, he speaks very gravely, or he has a very soft and musical and melodious voice. No, he has a deeper meaning to this question, and today our time won't permit us to enter into the depth, but we'll give you a very succinct answer to each of this question in the next slide. So Krishna answers that in the next two verses, 56, 57. Then Arjuna is asking, how does he sit? Kim asita. Again, Arjuna is not asking whether he's sitting in Padmasana and Mayurasana or which asana. No, it has a deeper meaning, and Krishna answers that also, 58, 59. And the last, vrajeta kim. How does he walk? Krishna answers that in the other remaining verses of this chapter, 64 to 71. So Krishna's answer is, first, his characteristic, such a person's characteristic is, that person looks for happiness. Everyone is looking for happiness, but that person looks for happiness inside, within. That's the difference. Doesn't look for happiness outside, looks for happiness inside. And then Arjuna's second question was, how does that person speak? The inner meaning to that question is, how does that person react to situations in life? When someone is shouting at you, you go to hell, you are a nonsense, I mean, you are so bad, I didn't expect this from you. How do you react to such a situation? To insults, to someone's anger, to someone cursing you or finding fault in you or troubling you. How do you react? Arjuna's question is that. And Krishna says, that person is undisturbed. That person is neither very excited nor morose, steady. Then Arjuna's third question is, how does that person sit? Which means, how does that person control oneself? How does that person control his own inner temptations? The previous question was, how does he respond to external situations? Now, from inside, how does he check his thoughts, his desires? How does he control his own inner feelings? And then, how does he resist to temptations? And then Krishna says, that person withdraws like a tortoise, withdraws within like a tortoise. He knows when to act, when not to act. And then fourth, how does he walk? Means, how does that person work? And Krishna says, that person works with satisfied consciousness, always satisfied, always grateful and happy for whatever that person is getting to do. Which comes from, how does that satisfaction come? It comes from having a deep relationship with the Supreme Lord, with having a connection with the Supreme Lord, spiritual connection. So then Krishna beautifully answers this and then says, such a person, Arjuna, enters where? Vaikuntha, the kingdom of God. And that's how he completes chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, the second longest chapter. For me, it's always a challenge to complete this chapter in just 90 minutes. But we try to do it. So Krishna says, Brahma Nirvana Richati, that a person, Sthita Pragya, destination is that person enters the kingdom of God, the place of true freedom, where we are what we really are, where we can be what we really are, the place where we don't have to try to be something else. We don't have to show off to be something else. The way we are naturally, we'll be most happy. that place where we can be in our true position, the true self. So we complete the chapter here. Now you can start sending your questions. So this chapter is called Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of analysis, because it teaches us how to analyze between our true identity and our identities which we have taken up because of this material body. It speaks about identity. It talks about the self. Few lessons to take with us here with compassion. Lord Krishna is God. He knows everything. He knows the mind of Arjuna. And before Arjuna is speaking his questions, Krishna knows that also. But Krishna is very patient. He is hearing in a very compassionate manner. He is listening with empathy. He's not trying to make Arjuna rush. He's not telling Arjuna, okay, Arjuna, I know your nonsense. I know what you're going to talk. Let me tell you the answer straight away. No, he's not telling Arjuna, Arjuna, you're rubbish, you're nonsense, your statements are foolish. He is accepting everything Arjuna, what he's trying to say, his statements, and then giving very logical explanations. He respects Arjuna's point of view, opinion. And then Krishna answers that. So whenever we act as a counselor, as a teacher, we can learn from Krishna. He's the best teacher. We should appreciate others. They might be wrong, but we should hear them patiently. And then we should answer to their question in a way that will inspire them and help them come out of their ignorance. So Krishna is not being disrespectful to Arjuna. He's hearing with compassion. Then next is, what is our identity? Very important. Please, let us try to give ourselves the true identity, which Krishna has already given to us, and he knows us the best. We are spirit souls. After that also, how do we identify ourselves in the material world? What do we think we are? The way we identify, that's how we are going to experience this world. So let us think deeply about it. What is our identity, materially and spiritually? For different people, it's going to be different materially. Spiritually, we have one identity. We are eternal spirit souls. So that's very clear from Bhagavad Gita. Material identities also get clear in further chapters where we discuss about nature of a person, personality, traits and characteristics, and how do I identify who am I, what am I supposed to do in life, what should be my career, my profession, and things like that. Then third, the how of happiness. This chapter teaches us the science of happiness. Happiness is not in results. It's not in it cannot be always quantified, materially. It has quality to it, and that quality to it comes by our attitude. Our attitude decides how happy we are going to be, not how much we possess, what's our bank balance, and how many things we have, and how much success we get in the things we do, materially speaking. It's all about how you do a certain thing, how you do an activity. Fourth, content and intent. This chapter teaches us, if you are right, that's not sufficient. You should also have a right intention of doing what is right. Krishna is telling Arjuna, fighting is your duty. Very good. But you should fight with a particular attitude, Buddhi-yoga. If you do that, then you are doing the right thing with the right attitude. And that will give you the best result. If you do the wrong thing, that's never going to give us a good result. But if you do the right thing with the wrong attitude, that's also not correct. So we should do the right thing with the right attitude. The content should be right, and the intent should also be right. Not just doing the right thing. Doing the right thing in the right way, at the right time, with the right attitude, will give us the best result. And the last, Arjuna asked Krishna about the qualities of a sthita-prajna, because Arjuna wants to be inspired by living examples of such a person. Anything we want to achieve in life, any goal we have, we should always try to associate with people who have those qualities. Very important. If you have made a goal for you, if you want to be like something, don't just passively associate with those thoughts and ideas. Always try to associate with living examples of people who have those qualities. Because when we see them, when we talk to them, when we spend time with them, we learn much more. Nowadays people are so much into just online learning. they are only information oriented, and they hear the classes of so many motivational speakers. But if you associate, or if you get to associate with your teachers, with those people who inspire you, that's the best thing to learn. That's the best way to learn. So Arjuna is asking here about living examples of a person whom he is making his ideal, that this is how I want to be, a buddhi yogi. I want to work in this manner. So he asked, what are the qualities of such a person? How can I find such a person? Where does such a person exist? Because he wants to know about them and he would like to associate with them and he would like to also develop himself to be like that. So good example inspires, and we should always try to associate, find the correct association and then learn from them. This chapter in a nutshell, at a glance, Sanjaya began by telling that, my dear king, don't be so hopeful. Krishna is going to now clear all the doubts of Arjuna, and then Arjuna's further doubts of not fighting and his surrender. Then Krishna first gives Atma Gyan from verses 11 to 30, the difference between soul and body. You must fight, Arjuna. Then he tells, if you fight, you do your duty, you will be happy. Do your duty. So your duty is to fight, fight. Then next, if you fight with this attitude, Buddhi-yoga, Nishkam-karma yoga, then you won't have any sinful reaction. So you must fight. And the fourth thing, Arjuna says, what are the qualities of such a person? Sthita Pragya. Krishna says, Arjuna, these are the qualities. That person has a particular aim, that person works in a particular way, and that person goes to a particular destination. So Arjuna, you must fight and be like that person. So any questions? Yeah, before from today's session, we went a little over time. I'm sorry for that. This is your reminder, quiz. Please do it as quickly as possible. The link is in the description of this video, YouTube video. Also, I'll be sending it in WhatsApp group. And remind us the next session is tomorrow. Please, I request you be a little generous in giving a feedback and comments after the session is over. You can type it in the YouTube comments. I would love to read them and reply to you. The session tomorrow is at 4 p.m. If possible, read chapter 3 and come, just a translation. So we take the questions. Okay, Suman Chandakchi. Is there anything called one-sided love in material world? Or one should ignore this emotion, or one should wait for at patience? Well, one-sided love. Now, what do you mean by one-sided love? You mean to say that you are trying to love someone and that person is not reciprocating? Is that what you're trying to say? If you can clarify on that, I can answer better. But yes, there are people who just want to, shower their love upon someone and that person doesn't reciprocate. So it's possible. It might, that possibility is there. But in truth, love is never one-sided. in truth, in principle, love has to be two-sided. There has to be, okay, Sumanji, so that's your question. Yes. So, it might be possible, but please try to understand, if the other person is not loving you, then you are perhaps not investing your love in the right place. Because love means it has to be two-sided. So then that love grows, right? That love grows. Otherwise, it's just you can say sentiment, some kind of sentiment. I love that person. You may be a well-wisher of that person. That's a different thing. But for a true loving exchange, there has to be reciprocation. Mudit Tandanji, after knowing that we are souls and not this body, how do we accept and remember it always? Thank you. Very good question. How do we remember it? You remember by practicing it. When we know we are spirit soul, we should learn to act as spirit soul, which means we should try to develop the qualities of a good soul. Gita teaches that. Like the first quality Gita spoke to us today is learn to tolerate. So when we learn to act on this knowledge, then this knowledge always remains with us. When you don't act on this knowledge is lost. So we should theoretically remind us. That's why we should always tell ourselves, I'm spirit soul, I'm Atma. We should tell that I'm not what people tell me I am. And second, we should work in that way. So then it will be always possible for us to live like that. Next, though we understand we are spirit soul and practice, if hard situation occur in life, it shakes us. How to handle? Thank you so much. Very, very practical question. I appreciate that question. It shakes us up because we have not realized this thing to the core of our heart. So when we get shaken up, we should know, we need to go deeper in our spiritual practice. We are not there yet. Sometimes we become very callous and we start assuming, I already know so much. I'm pretty spiritually advanced. So these problems, they come in our life to remind us, you see, you're not there yet. So start working on yourself more now. So we can use these situations as opportunities to make more spiritual efforts, to go more deep into our understanding, to make our practices more better. And then one day we'll come to that state of self-realization when this situation won't disturb us at all. That day will come. But for that, we have to every time increase our level of commitment to this knowledge and make progress. Okay. And along with that, immediately how to deal with that situation, always have friends and well-wishers in your life with whom you can discuss, and they can help you be a little relaxed, mentally. They will help you to release the stress, and they'll comfort you, and they will try to inject this knowledge into you. Sometimes we need someone else to inject that right consciousness, right attitude in us. So have people with whom you can take counsel, guidance. Okay, thank you so much. Sakshiji. Okay. How should a soldier must behave in battlefield in order to follow Krishna's order? How should a soldier must behave in battlefield in order? First of all, the soldier should fight for dharma, should not fight just for some reason. First, fight for dharma. And how can they remain free from karmic reaction when they just fight for their own nation? Well, if they're fighting for the nation and the nation has a wrong cause, they will also get a wrong result. Arjuna was not fighting for a wrong cause. Arjuna was fighting for the right cause. So as I told you, it has to be a right cause, and one has to do the right thing in the right attitude. It's not that we do a wrong thing in the right attitude and we get the best result out of it. So when you say a particular soldier is fighting for the nation, if the nation is fighting for a wrong cause, then that soldier is supporting the wrong cause, so that soldier is also going to get a wrong result. Pretty simple. So it has to be the right thing in the right way. So the soldier has to be smart and intelligent. I am fighting for these people, for this government, for this country, but then this is a dharma. Why should I fight? I can go for some other occupation. So that has to be there. If that country or that nation is fighting for dharma, and then the soldier fights with this consciousness, which Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita, then no reaction. Please, I request others, please don't send more questions. I won't be able to answer them all now. You can definitely put the questions in WhatsApp to me. I mean, to send to those people whose contacts have been shared to you. I'll answer on WhatsApp, or you can put it on YouTube comments and I'll answer that later. So stop sending more questions now, because after this I have another session to take. But I'll take whatever has been posted. Okay. How long recordings can be used? The recordings will always be available. You can access previous week's recordings. They are available. Both the recordings are available. You can ask the person, the help contact number, which you have put in the WhatsApp group, check with them, and you'll get the recordings. Okay, thank you, 𝗃𝗏𝗁. Mujit, after knowing that we are souls and bodies, how do we accept? You asked this question, I think, already. Our tolerance and compassion is misunderstood as weakness. Yeah, it happens. So is it okay to act and prove otherwise? I would request you not to stop tolerating. You tolerate, but then you also explain to them that you are not weak, or show to them that you are not weak. But don't give up that quality of tolerance, And if you want to discuss more in detail about this for a particular situation, please send me a voice message on WhatsApp, or send it to the person, the contact number for help. We will discuss on it. Okay, thank you. How and one understands spiritual identity? Well, the spiritual identity is pretty clear. We are spirit souls. Now, if you want to know more about it, then there's a process of purification. That's called sadhana. We need to do spiritual sadhana. Then it's revealed to us. But the basic spiritual identity, we all know we are Atma, spirit soul. How to tolerate the suffering if you are sick? Very good question. How to tolerate the suffering if you are sick? You see, when we are sick, then the body, the mind gives us trouble. But if before we were sick, we had practiced spiritual knowledge, it will help us to deal that situation more nicely. Now, when you are sick, that time also you can practice spiritual knowledge. We can take shelter of Krishna's names. We can take shelter of Krishna's message in Bhagavad Gita. We can take shelter of people who can give us very soothing association in that time. But after you become healthy again or you become better, try to cultivate spiritual knowledge. That will give you the ability to tolerate the suffering. It's not like 1 minute solution actually. It's a practice. The people who practice spiritual knowledge, by default, they get this quality to tolerate. So immediately if you want to seek a solution, I told you certain things can be done. But for long term, practice spiritual knowledge. Is love not a bondage? Well, it depends whom you love and why you love. Love is not always a bondage. Spiritual love, not a bondage. Aren't we supposed to be detached to material virtues? We are supposed to be detached to the results that we get by being materially virtuous, but not that we should be detached from good qualities. What is the real meaning of work for us? Work means your profession, anything. Like, for example, now I am doing the work of a teacher. You are doing the work of a student. You may have different professions in your life, different duties in your life. All that is work. Like a student has the duty to work, a mother has the duty to take care of child, a child has the duty to serve the parents. So any duty can be called as work. Okay, you're still posting questions, I think. Neha Maratraji, is it correct to give more time to spiritual activities rather to social? That depends on you. But it's totally correct, not at all wrong. We should invest more time in spiritual life. And we can do spiritual socialization, which means you associate with people who are spiritual. Yes, people will criticize you, but don't bother so much about what people say. If you are doing the right thing, just do it. People in this world, they will tell you what not. Even if you are doing the best thing in the world, they will not be happy with you. So we should not so much think about people. If we are doing the right thing and we are convinced about it, and it's giving us good benefits, then we should continue doing that, right? Not be discouraged about what people say. Roshniji, if one does not get the fruits of karma, then there is no point in doing karma. So my question is, when you don't get results, where do you get motivation to do karma? When you don't get results, then the motivation is, this is my duty, I should be doing it. That's the motivation, this knowledge. You see, I'm not getting the result because my past karma was not good. And if I stop doing karma now, I won't get results in future also. So I should continue doing my duty. That motivation we have to take from the scriptures. The scriptures are that's why telling us that we should continue to work. Okay, I'll take the last question. How to stay connected in everyday life with the Lord amongst so much busy life? Thank you, Pinkalji. What I do for doing that, let me tell you. Every day in the morning when I get up, I spend my time remembering Krishna, chanting Krishna's holy names, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. I stay in temples, so I take darshan of the Supreme Lord. Then I, every day in the morning, hear about the Supreme Lord, some spiritual discourse. Every day I read about the Lord. So please, Pinkalji, in your life, every day, try to do these things. Take out some time for chanting God's names. Try to read Bhagavad Gita every day. Try to attend such spiritual discourses. Whatever time you have, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, while you're going to your work or you're doing something at home. Stay connected like this. This will keep you connected to the Supreme Lord. In this channel in which you are attending this course, I have so many videos on different subject matters, spiritual subject matters, Ramayana and lives of great saints in Hindi and English language. So just stay connected. Every day make a point, you hear half an hour, 15 minutes, and that will give you so much spiritual boost. And you will feel that connection actually. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate your time that you gave to us. Please meet you tomorrow, same time. Stay connected. Do the quiz. Please send your feedback on comments box. And if you have questions, don't feel shy or hesitate to send to me on WhatsApp. I would love to answer. Sometimes I may not be able to answer, on time. I might take 2 days or 3 days, but I'll definitely answer. Okay, so we stop here. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.